COVID situation, and one was of the view that it probably is going to be a whitewash only because they're not sure about the means of engaging with that inquiry. And I do believe that the inquiry is supposed to wrap up at the end of the month. That's not that long. So some practical examples were given as to how to engage with it. You could possibly get in touch with your MP to put a question that speaks to the issue. That's one way. I know the guy running on the world official one, because there are quite a few inquiries into COVID, but I think the government's response is being led by a Professor Fenton, and he is actually one of the panelists on a Zoom chat on May 22nd, 5:30 to 7:30. It is free. It's called Going Beyond Statistics, the Impact of COVID-19 on AIM Lives, or I'll say AIM Lives rather than BAME Lives. So you can get them on Eventbrite. I'm sure it is free. It's Going Beyond BAME.eventbrite.co.uk. So you could check that one out. I'm sure Patrick will be talking about me. He always seems to be on one panel or the other. I think he's on a panel, so he can talk about what is on. So what else did they suggest? Oh yes, in terms of the play, particularly Tony, the suggestion was made that we do know about victimhood and all the issues. What we need is a pathway towards engaging empowerment. What we can do to get out of the situation, that kind of thing. There should be a ray of hope. So the empowerment was a big point that was made. So that you got to find a way of incorporating that into the play, because it seems like they're all disempowered. Or we've got a problem, blah, 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 blah. And what are some of the ways of moving past that? So I think that is what we came out from room 6. But if someone's got something that please jump in.
Thank you, Kwaku. Is there another group? Yep, Sinai. Yeah, go ahead. It sounds like your mic is off or something. We can't hear you.
I was in group 7.
Okay.
With and the discussion we was talking about was how people have been adjusting to lockdown and whether their mental health had been impacted. All 3 of us said that our mental health had been affected by COVID, as there was no normality. It was hard to adjust working at home. Also, but they've also said there was some positive outcomes from this. For example, the guy that was in the group with us said he speaks to his close friends more than he did prior to COVID-19. And that's been good. People said they found social distancing a bit hard. The idea of hugging family members and seeing them, they found that particularly difficult. Also, we was talking about, the fear to go outside, a lot of fear to go outside, a lot of fear to get in touch with people because of the virus. So people are kind of on edge with a lot of anxiety about that. And also, in terms of the lady brought up that perhaps our community need to understand where we can go and research information from reliable sources and become a bit more aware of the information that's available to us to help us through the pandemic, our mental health issues.
Thank you. Wow. Is that all of the groups, or is there one more I think we haven't heard from?
I think that's all of it, because Barbara and I was group 8.
Okay.
I failed to mention.
So there's 2 things I want to do. One, I want to just sort of get the cast to kind of have a little bit of a say. But before we do that, what are your recommendations, suggestions that we do with all this discussion that we've had just now? Michael, Patrick, Junie, Sinai, all of you.
I was just gonna say, oh gosh, I've got to put my glasses on. I'm getting tired now. saying in our group was how powerful the play was. And at Slam, it would have been good to show a play like this and get some of the different people involved, because it really shone the light on getting people to think from a different place how to address and respond to need. The needs came out and how to begin to respond. Often statutory services aren't designed to respond to these needs. So a lot of its criteria or threshold for you to access services do not meet our community's needs. So even the way they work in partnership with the community organisations, where they could be supporting smaller organisations and working together to have these agendas more of a higher priority in whether it was Age UK or the other organisations that could have helped in some way, whether they were helping the dad, the character, whoever it was. That's what we felt that it could do. It created insight and it was explicit.
Okay, thank you, Junie. I want to go to Patrick because I haven't heard Patrick's voice too much tonight. So, Patrick, what do we do now? Where do we go? What do we do with all these important things that people have raised?
I mean, I think there's a number of things we can do. So I'm working closely with Michael William on around the demands of a public inquiry, because I think there's a review led by Kevin Fenton, but it's just a scientific evidential review on the health, only on the health and the mortality rate. It's not going to look at the wider issues that we've explored tonight. So that's one thing. I know that Tutiet's very keen on the work that she's doing to try and introduce African perspective around complementary medicines. That's quite important. I'm working with Yabele and a number of therapists from diverse communities. I was going to use the word BAME, but Quacker's Day will remind me again. I'm going to say BAME. Is he there? But no. But one of the key issues is around bereavement support. There is hardly any proper bereavement support counselling for people of colour in Britain. The main bereavement service is run by it's funded by a charity called Cruise. They have all white counsellors. The majority of people that use that service are white. So we need to develop our own. And I think the question in our group, and I think it's a question for all of us, is if everyone uses the expression about the new normal. Is this a chance for us to reset the dial in terms of what we demand around better mental health services, around better housing, education, etc., etc., or do we simply just go bobble along like we always do? Is this an opportunity for us to get together and demand our right and do our own stuff? This is a question for all of us.
We need to do our own stuff.
Yeah, can I just say from my perspective, sorry, Patrick, I hear what you're saying, but I do think that the return to the new normal, it's not about shouting at a bunch of people that actually don't care who we are anymore. I think the lesson that we need to learn is that, look what Tony's done here. Tony's just brought all these people together. We actually need to just start having our own conversations, working out our own solutions, and not even bothering with them, because they're just... Practically, look at the amount of work that you've done in terms of Win Russian. They're just not listening, King.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
Personally, I wouldn't say I'm a young man, but I'm tired of it, and I've only been about this for a little while.
Yeah, I know.
Michael, can I hear from Michael? Because Michael's organisation is actually speaking.
I'd like to see Tony is
only because your organisation is the sorry, Michael. Your organisation is the closest to Boris or the government. So it may be that your organisation can really make an impact. Is that right?
Sorry, we're very, very far away from Boris. I can tell you that there are organisations that are doing work quite closely with government and are able to influence government. we've been trying to influence government through through leadership building and through campaigning, and so we've had a big campaign with Patrick and others around the inquiry. In terms of mental health in particular, though, something that I would like to see didn't come up in our conversation, is I think that there is a view that kind of mental health, if somebody becomes mentally ill, that there is no way back from that. Yeah, it's like getting a virus that cannot be cured. And so I think that there is a real need for some kind of positive, what do you call them, examples of where people have where people have learned to manage illness. We get a sense in the community.
Well, Michael, we do have that. We have people like Frank Bruno, for instance, who have publicly battled mental health at a time when, as black people, we mocked it.
Forget Frank Bruno. We've got people on this call right now who can share their experiences.
Well, there you go. Well, what I'm saying, but
I think
the reason why I said Frank Bruno on a more public level, for instance, a lot of people don't know us here on this panel, so we do have someone who is a very public figure as far as recovering from mental health. And like I said, it happened to him at a time when, as black people, we weren't very sympathetic to what he was going through, you know. So yeah.
I mean, when I was seeing young people in GP practices, and I was a young people's counsellor in GP practices for a number of years, and the first thing that you had to convince people was that there was light at the end of this tunnel. You know, because people would come and they would think that they had been cast a card from which they cannot remove, that people, you know, and so I think there is a need for some really good case studies and a need for some case studies where the things that we are talking about working have been seen to work, you know, so that when people turn up at their GP practice, there is an example of somebody that's done it. This is the way that they've done it. This is what it looks like to have.
I'd like to speak to Tony after this. I'll speak to you, Tony, but I'd like to speak with you, Michael, with regarding case studies. And there's a lot of our people in the public eye who themselves have mental health or their family members have it. And what we need is for them to come out of the shadows, like the Frank Brunos of this world, and just, you know,
tell it as it is.
That we can overcome those situations. Yes, we don't need to dig deep and reinvent the wheel and try and find those people. They're there. We just need to encourage them to come out of the shadows.
Can I quickly go to Tutuette? She's had her hand up for a while and she needs to speak.
Thank you, Tony. It's just speaking to Sadiqi's point. We've had this conversation a number of times, and I think that the two are not mutually exclusive. You can do the work in the community, serve the needs of our community, while still making sure that the law that our forebears fought for is applied, and the policies and programs that have been recommended are implemented. Obama said you can walk and chew gum at the same time. And also, just to clarify, so I am committed to the integration of evidence-based African traditional medicine. So just in terms of psychiatric African traditional medicine, in the play, somebody like Kwame would have gone through his rites of passage, so that he would have had the opportunity to resolve his trauma before going to the next stage of the life course. And you have that from childhood to adolescence into adulthood, becoming a parent, and then becoming an elder. And these ceremonies, these rites of passage, would have happened with the community participation, and also ingesting compounds from either plants or fungi that have the same psychotropic effects as the medications that we get prescribed, antidepressants, antipsychotics. So rather than us being put straight onto prescription medication when we experience distress, through evidence-based African traditional medicine, you would have access to those compounds that don't have the same side effects that are that we would have evolved alongside, and so they're more compatible with our genetic makeup. So that's the view that I take, and World Health Organization has a strategy on the integration of traditional medicine across the member states, and I feel that Britain should be a world leader in integrated traditional medicine, and African traditional medicine needs to be part of that program, because you can currently get Chinese traditional medicine on the NHS and Ayurvedic medicine on the NHS, but you can't get African traditional medicine on the NHS currently. So I hope you'll all join me in changing that.
Thank you very much, Tutua. Can I just quickly speak to one or two of the performers are still here in the house? If we can hear from your voices, because it's without you, we would not be here. So can I just hear from some of the performers that are still present?
Sarah.
Where's Sarah? Where is Sarah? We want to speak to her. Where's she there?
She's tough.
Any of the performers would like to say anything? Dad, are you there? Keith?
Yes. Hello. I was in Junie's group, and one of the things that borne out of our discussion was obviously because everyone else was more or less embroiled in their own issues, we really didn't have time to listen to each other or to see what was happening for each other. Yes, there was a history of maybe Kwame's behavior and how it had impacted upon members of his immediate family and outside of, but we felt that because of this lack of mutual aid support and perhaps making ourselves vulnerable to saying, look, I need help, you know what I mean? Things really spiraled out of control. So, as dad, I was embroiled in my own bereavement, and different losses, and I suppose different cast members were suffering their own losses, not just during or because of the bereavement.
Okay, thank you, Dad. And I would like to hear from Keith. Keith, can you share something with us? Because I know you're an actual NHS worker, aren't you?
Yes, I work in social care, so I've seen it from all points of view, from working in frontline without PPE, etc., and with family members who actually gone down with COVID at the moment, frontline nurses. So, and then you've got the stigma of it affecting people over the age of 70, first and foremost. Then now they go down to people with underlying medical conditions, asthma, is it controlled, etc. And then they throw another dice. If you're from the black minority, then you're higher risk of getting COVID. So it's kind of been a whirlwind. But I want to say, obviously, thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning in this evening. And I'm going to personally thank the actual cast members and Tony, because I think we've done a fantastic job of, in a short space of time, on Zoom, with all the technical difficulties, we pulled off a fantastic performance for you guys, and the debate is going on, and you can go on forever. So I want to personally thank you guys for all your work.
Second that.
But I've been listening, I've been sat here, I've been at work till 6 o'clock this morning, we're going to work again tomorrow morning, but I could sit and listen to you guys all night, because everyone has got something very, very important to say about ultimately helping helping the community. And yes, it is a black thing, but it's also a human thing. It's about helping each other, and that's what we need to do. But yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I just add a quick word, please?
Yes, please. Final words, because we need to wrap up. We're 18 minutes past our time, and the bar is definitely closing in the theatre.
Very quick, very quick. I tried to send a message, but I just didn't get it to go through. And all I wanted to say at the very end is, it would be really good if we did not use the abbreviation SLAM.
Yeah, I agree.
Think of what it means, i.e. to be put in the slammer, etc. Earlier panelists said South London and Maudsley, and I just wish we could stick to that.
True.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any final words? Any closing words? Closing statements? Stephen, make it brief. 10 seconds.
That's all right. But especially when we was going through the practice and putting it all together, we was very conscious that we didn't want to become Kwame to be someone stereotypical. We wanted Kwame to come from a good background, but because of his what happens to him in life, he ends up the way he ends up, and he does what he does at the end of it. There's so many of us mental health service users are not stereotypical service users. We go through the mental health system, maybe we come out the other side, and we get on with our lives.
Thank you, Stephen. Anybody else? Final words? Yes, Patrick.
Yeah, just so I just want to acknowledge someone that went to their ancestors about 10 days ago. Professor Fred Hickley, well-respected Jamaican psychiatrist, activist. He passed away about 10 days ago. What? Was that a shock there? Yeah, and I knew him over the last 15, 20 years, and he was one of the very few people, not Caribbean, but he did some work in the UK, to look at the whole idea of decolonising mental health services and having a perspective reflecting our enslaved past for a future. I've done a special radio show on his life, which is on my, not with Colourful, with Sana, even though we're going to try and do something again soon, but on my Museum of Groove show. And I've done it's a two-part special. I was with him in Berlin in January, and I recorded his lecture, and his lecture will just blow your mind away. It's just so powerful, and more importantly, incorporates art, culture, theatre into his work around psychiatry and mental well-being. So just check him out, Fred Hickley. It's gone to the ancestors, but it's a legacy that we should build on.
Absolutely. Final words. Final words. No more than 15 seconds.
Yeah, from Kwaku, first of all, respect to you. I think it's innovative, quite encouraging. And lastly, I learned a new term, which is shielding. We look at the NHS workers and the people on the front line, but some of them actually have to be confined to home because of underlying issues, so they can't do the work that they actually supposed to do. So let's think of not only the people on the front line, but people that should be there but can't because of underlying issues. That's me done.
Final words. 15 seconds. Final words. Anybody?
I'll go. Just thank you for an amazing evening. Lots of thought-provoking stuff as usual. It would be great if we could somehow all keep in touch and maybe plan how we can move forward. Throw some ideas out there, like I did Patrick Harris on Black House is looking for guests to come on and share their stories.
Can I just say, again, it's been a wonderful evening, and if anybody feels like they want to reach out to Black Thrive, you can. We've got a website, you can get us at hello@blackthrive.org.uk. Me personally, Siddiqui Harris, I'm thinking like, wow, given Kwame's story, I don't know where he would have gone to get support. I've got to do some work around getting safe spaces for black men, to be fair. And I don't know if I could do this through Black Thrive. I'll just by myself. But safe spaces are...
And I quickly want to say I'm all the way from Birmingham, and I was introduced to a fantastic mutual aid support group called the Black Men's Consortium, headed up by Tony and Lloyd et al. And members of the actual steering committee. And it is available for people like ourselves who are going through different experiences of mental health, experience along the spectrum. And I've found it a very cathartic, therapeutic, experience. I've been traveling prior to COVID from Birmingham to London on a Monday evenings to get my therapy from the Black Men's Consortium. group. So, Tony et al.
Okay, any final words before we close? Yes, Karen.
Yeah, thanks. It's been really great listening to everybody and their different experiences and a lot of information. I've got a lot of information from that about, helping the Black community, steering them in the right direction with mental health, because it is a big issue and, I think we need to address it a bit more. Through experience that I've had personally with family members where it's just been swept under the carpet, and I think it's about time that we started doing our own thing for people of colour.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
And just to say really quickly that we are doing our own thing, very much tailor-made to our culture and the way that we think. Don't hesitate to contact me, Junie Mohammed. I put my details in the group. We can do this. We're already doing it. And thank you, Mars, and thank you, everybody, for participating. Fantastic.
Well, I'd just like to say a big thank you to all of the performers who stuck it out working with me and putting this show together. Without them, we would not be here. So I want to rise them up. I want to big them up. I want to say thank you to all of the cast members and some of the other members of the Black Men's Consortium who put their time in to really make this work. So without you, we would not have a show. So thank you so much. I think that's all for now. I'm going to leave the chat open for a little bit, for another 5 to 6 minutes. And then we're going to close down. So final drinks at the bar and talk amongst yourselves. But thank you very much.